This is the Why Not podcast. If you're here, it's probably because you're listening on one of the socials and you've heard this before. Generally, we do this with Airmen, NCO, Senior NCO. This is the first time that we've done it differently. And if you look that camera, you'll see that we have an officer here. So
for good cause.
For good cause. We're here today to talk about commissioning. So it would feel weird if just a bunch of enlisted people talked about it alone. But you haven't always been an officer. Before that, you were
prior enlisted.
Yeah.
So a little bit of background. Prior enlisted for about 3.5 years. Had a really long pipeline. I'll get into the long of it. You can cut out whatever you don't need.
Sure.
So had a really long pipeline in AETC. So November 4th, 2014, joined the Air Force, got sent off to BMT over in Lackland. And so back then, I don't know if it's still the case today, 8.5 weeks. Stayed at Lackland for aircrew.
Mm-hmm.
So aircrew fundies, another 8-week program. Went over to Defense Language Institute in Monterey, so the Presidio. Studied Persian Farsi. Turns out I'm not too good at language. So failed out of that. And they sent me to Biloxi, Mississippi for about 9 months, learning my then job, which was base communications, and then kicked it over to Andrews over in Maryland. So my active duty outside of AETC was only in Joint Base Andrews. And then my last 2 jobs while I was there was project management. I did that for about 6 months. I was senior airman, got below the zone, had a line number for staff. I was in charge of 2 shops, 13 airmen. And then month on, month off, I was over in Honor Guard, base Honor Guard. So there's the head trainer, which was a tech sergeant at the time. I was right under him. So I pushed about 3 flights. So really busy, back and forth. And then I went to the academy for 4 years.
Yeah, why not throw that in there?
Yeah. That's the quick snippet, right?
Yeah. So let's introduce our cast of characters. We'll start off with our airman over here.
A1C Fernandez Lanjo from the 5th LRS. Yeah.
Lieutenant Subic. Lieutenant John Subic over in 740th Missile Squadron.
And I'm Tech Sergeant Ryan Holzaffel, and I'm from here at PA, 5th Bomb Wing PA.
I'm also 5th Bomb Wing PA, but you should know me because you've been listening all these times. So here talking about commissioning, we got your background as an enlisted member, how you got to be here. Did you like the academy? Was that
That's a pointed question.
Yeah.
If you're at the academy in the future somewhere, please don't hate me too much now. Pretty much everyone that goes to the academy is on the same page. And then again, that small subsect of us that is prior enlisted that end up there. No, it's terrible. So, I guess quick background on the academy. In general, there's about 85 slots for active duty, 85 slots for Guard and Reserve enlisted members going through the LEAD program. So leaders encouraging airman development. Again, that's the route I took. And a lot of people, at least back in the day, it's hush-hush. So not too many people have done it. Not too many people know about it.
I forget about it. I'm aware of the program,
Sure.
but I feel like I forget about it or that it's an opportunity until it's told to me. And now as a supervisor, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have an airman who could do that. So that's kind of painful because I want to try to remember that better.
Sure. Well, and again, don't want to jump the gun too much, but that's part of why DEFO's here on Minot Air Force Base. And again, it's an Air Force-wide program. We're getting started up at other bases, is to help not only the airmen, big A, but to help the supervisors, which again, frontline, 5-6, think that. But also we talk to all the group commanders. So the base/wing commander on 5th side and then 9-1 side. We make it a priority to have the highest levels of leadership understand what DEFO is here for, which is, it's a pendulum, right? So big A airmen on one side, and then the bosses on the other.
Right.
And we are here to help bridge that gap. Because again, it's not the boss's job at the end of the day to know every single commissioning path, just like it's not the airmen's. They don't start off knowing every path. So that's why we do the 101 courses. That's why you show up at the end of the day so that we can help bridge that gap. It's usually a fire hose because we're tracking right now 18 programs.
Wow.
The vast majority of them are related to medical.
Right.
That's true.
Yep. But your big buckets are going to be OTS. So that's what all this paperwork is. And that has a couple subsects. ROTC, which has 4, you can call it, and then Academy. So again, that was my route. And then while I was there, we started off with, I want to say high 60s or low 70s as far as like the amount of prior enlisted cadets that were at the academy. Usually a class starts with about 1,100. We graduate usually a little under 1,000. So there's a couple cool statistics I like to throw out, which is there's usually 40,000 applications started every year. About 11,000 finish, and then about 1,100 get picked up. And so the acceptance rate year to year is usually between 8 and 12%. And that's mostly for directs. But if you go into the prior enlisted or the enlisted realm, it increases. So we had about 300 people apply last I heard. I don't have a fiscal year to quote that to, but 300 people might apply, and then like I said, 60 or 80 might get picked up. So it's somewhere between 20 and 30%. So
That's pretty good.
no, it's good.
Way better.
The acceptance rate is good, but again, always there's a but. I guess the accessions rate is a lot higher. So if you're a direct, odds of you getting kicked out, leaving, just anything to get you out of the academy is about 10%. So it's not too bad. Like I said, we start with about 11. We're going to graduate just under 1,000 usually. But like I said, I started with low 70s, high 60s for prior enlisted, and we graduated probably around 20-ish, high 20s. So the accessions rate is normally about 50%.
Okay.
Do you think that's the difference in lifestyle of like
Oh,
working to
100%.
suddenly in an academic
Yeah.
environment?
Well, so gosh, it's a really deep question that's kind of going back to what you were saying earlier. As supervisors, you don't know all the possibilities. So the academy, the biggest cutoff for people to apply on the enlisted side is age.
Right.
So number 1 is age, 23 before 1 July. Second is going to be married / kids.
Right.
So, and then if you have any like crazy outstanding debt, so if you own a house or if you own a car with a bunch of debt, you're not going to be able to get rid of that debt easily. So those are like the 3 main ones in order as far as like what's preventing people from getting from enlisted to academy specifically. So, but again, to your point is once you get there, I mean, you got to figure you're going to be in the Air Force for a certain amount of time before you can even learn what this path is. And again, age is going to creep up on you, but you're going to live a certain way when you're an airman. So like for me, I was AATC for almost 2 years. So more than half my time being in active duty Air Force.
You're in like a training mentality
That's
already.
right.
Yeah.
And so I almost never switched off. So going from enlisted to a cadet at the Air Force Academy wasn't too bad. But for the vast majority of prior enlisted cadets, it's tough.
Yeah.
Can't store alcohol, can't have a car until 2 dig year. So 2 degree is a junior. So there's a lot of mobility or freedoms that you're used to that are all of a sudden stripped. You have to live in the dorms. You're going to have a roommate.
Right.
Like you're going to be a freshman dealing with seniors that are your age or younger, telling you what to do, yelling at you. And that's normal. To me, at least, coming from that experience, the idea is that it should humble you. Like you're going to come in as an enlisted person. You're going to be 21, 22, probably tops.
Right.
And you're going to have lived a life, but that is completely different than what the academy is. And I like to tell people that being a good cadet and being a good officer are 2 different things. So I'm I'm gonna try not to curse, but just in case my mom watches. Yeah, I know.
She's out there somewhere.
I know. But I was a really not good cadet. So I almost got kicked out 3 times. And so we'll dig into the why I do what I do. So the DEFO program, trying to be the base lead, trying to coordinate and organize all this stuff. One of the biggest reasons why is they could have easily kicked me out in any of those 3 times, and they would have been justified to do so. And they didn't, you know? So the general, the 2-star at the time, I boarded up with her. So it was me, like all my supervisors, the major that's in charge, the senior enlisted advisor, and then her at the other end of the table with her chief asking me the hard questions. It's like, why should we keep you? And I boarded well enough to stay. But at the end of the day, that was their decision. And now that I'm here, it's kind of weighed upon me. It's on my shoulders to try and give back to the community, kind of take up some of that debt, that I incurred, some of that social debt, and try and pay it forward. So if you or any other airman wants to get to the academy or take another commissioning route, maybe you don't have to learn some of the hard lessons that I had to, and I can give you kind of a spring forward.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Okay, so there's
a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack there. For
Amen.
There are different ways that an airman can probably prepare themselves for this path. What does an airman need to do, like mentally and literally, in order to set themselves up for commissioning?
Yeah. So it's a super broad question. And when we do our 101 courses, again, just some context, very dense course where we try and dig into each commissioning program a little bit. Like I said, the major 3 buckets we try and focus on are OTS, ROTC, and the academy and their little splits. And then if we can have someone from medical, we'll talk about all the little niche medicals paths and how choosing the maybe not most correct, but most applicable path to you as an individual is really important. So, just speaking on my path, where I was at in life, I didn't know really of any other commissioning path except maybe OTS. But my captain at the time asked me pretty bluntly on like a Tuesday. He's like, "Hey, you ever thought about going to the Air Force Academy?" And I'm like, "What the heck's the Air Force Academy?" Right. So a lot of people don't know about it, especially me. I come from kind of a lower middle income class, not privileged background at all, only child. My parents gave me everything they could to put me on the right path, and I try to do right by them. So I think about them a lot in this path. And when an airman asks me a question like that, I try to reframe it for them.
Sure.
So, and I was talking with the Professional Development Center. If you haven't been there, quick plug. They're awesome. They do a lot of work on behalf of DEFO, on behalf of the program, and the airmen just across the base. So I will shout it from the rooftops how awesome they are. But we talked for probably 2 hours just on like, how do you reframe airmen's concept of what it means to try to obtain a commission. And again, when we do the 101 brief, all of the possibilities that are at your disposal. So, if you're over the age of 23, we can just wipe the academy off the table. If you have less than an associate's degree, we might start talking the ROTC routes, depending on how many credits you have. And if you have your full bachelor's already, it's going to be some OTS variant. So that's the general path we like to place before the, again, Big A Airmen. But the question that people usually like to ask is like from my perspective is like, why do you want to commission? Standard plain question. But again, we have to do some reframing because it can set airmen up kind of improperly maybe, which is, why should I commission? Okay, well, I think about the money side of it. I want to help airmen. I want to, be a leader. All these like
Right.
very generic answers, which is fine to start. But if you are, no kidding, going to take a commission, like, and go down that path, like me or any other prior enlisted person or anyone that's trying to go through a commissioning path, like, they'll tell you it's not easy. It's gonna be hard. And up until this point, barring any major like life events you as a specific person have gone through, it's going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done, like up until this point.
Yeah.
And it's built that way on purpose. And that's also okay. And it's also okay not to feel good while you do it. And I think that's the like framing and the mentality that people get twisted, which is I have to feel good while I'm doing this thing. And that is not the case. So like even as I was applying for the academy, rigorous, like I would do 10, 12-hour days, get in an hour before like everyone, like leave an hour after people. Like a day in the life of Senior Airman Subic was wake up at like 4 a.m., like workout, cold shower, meditate, get to the office at like 5:30, put in like an hour, sometimes 2 hours worth of work before everyone else got in, trying to set them up so that they could be successful for the day, inevitably fail.
Right.
Yeah, sure. It never goes as planned.
No, exactly. Because you don't know what skills you need, and all of a sudden you're put in this position that you have no idea how to do.
That's the definition of the military in a nutshell, though.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's trial by fire, and that's kind of the point. Stay an hour, 2 hours after people, trying to set up for the next day. And so I'd get back at maybe 6 p.m., 5 p.m., and then study the rest of the time. Because I'm not that smart when it comes to books. I got a 23 on my ACT when I was in high school. I retook, got a 26, which was the best I could possibly do. And the academy was looking for 27s at the time.
Look at you. That's,
Yeah, I
good.
know.
That's from perseverance, though. Like trying and like wanting to apply and like wanting to do something. And like you said, feeling bad, but overcoming it because I have filled out an OTS package before to
Right.
go to the wing level. And in the case that I was, is like, okay, it goes through my squadron, which was wing staff agency, gets approved, and then goes to the wing level where the wing commander says yes or no. And he said no. And I cried.
Which is an
And
appropriate response.
I felt stressed about the whole process. I didn't feel good the whole time. And then I cried, but I reevaluated,
Wow.
like, how do I fix it? And like, how many more times can I do this? Or am I able to do this? And I'm able to do it a couple more times because I do really want it.
Right.
But yeah, when you're describing like feeling bad about it, I'm like, yes and no. It's such a weird thing. It's a very weird thing.
Well, and that's, again, people don't understand like what it feels like to have extreme growth all at once, which is, if you're putting a package together, again, it's probably going to be one of the hardest things you've done up until this point of your life.
Yeah.
It's so much work, all for like a no at the end of the day.
Right.
I was lucky enough to get in on my first application, but I have had failures throughout my entire career, and I try to talk about them openly because it's super easy to come onto the podcast and look at this
I'm a
LT.
success story.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, look
It's
at
easy.
that's right. Look at LT over here. He's put in 10 years worth of work, going on 11. He's in charge of the defo based program, and it's like, you're doing great. Like the program's doing great. We have a lot of great people in the program all across, every group. But what are the failures that have gotten me to this point? And easiest one is to talk about is almost getting kicked out 3 times. When I like to tell this story. When I was a senior airman, my package was in, like, stamped, signed, sealed, delivered out the door. I was at the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force's house, Chief Wright, at the time.
All
Oh,
right.
cool.
Yes.
We interviewed him before.
Yeah, we did. It was nice.
It was nice.
Nice person.
After the fact?
Like when he was Chief Wright, like he visited. We were at Cannon Air Force Base. We were both airmen. Because the listeners don't know this, but we're married, and that's where we met. So when we were airmen, we interviewed Chief Wright. But I got coined, and he was camera guy, so it was
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so
And
Chief Wright,
I-
yeah, very big deal.
Not a big deal. It's right.
But you guys are married, so basically her coin is your coin too.
Yeah, that's
That's
right. 50% of it's his.
Yeah, right.
That's good. So we were at his house setting up for 12 Outstanding Airmen of the Year, and we were ironing like tablecloths and napkins in his 2-car garage, which you've been in a 2-car garage. It's not too much room.
Right.
And we jammed about, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 people in there. And so it's me and my people from base honor guard at the time. We had a little assembly line going. We're putting it in the, little bin. And some people outside of the assembly line that we didn't know would come along. Oh, this is wrinkled. Put it back to the front of the line. And
Oh no.
yes. So I'm a big guy. I have a kind of a booming voice. It can be scary sometimes. And I accidentally used my command voice and told them to politely, kindly vacate the garage, and that was not taken well. So I was told to leave at the time, and I went back to the honor guard shack. They're like, "Oh, what happens?" My side of the story. Okay, we'll squash this. Comes down from top. They're like, "That's not what happened at all." Like calling me a liar, which is fine. He said, she said kind of thing. And so again, both sides, I had to go like report to the honor guard side and the comm squadron side. And essentially I reported into the captain. He's like, dude, your package is like literally out there in the ether, like getting decided upon like in a few weeks. What the heck? And I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble. What do I do? He's like, you're going to go back there and apologize to all those like techs, master sergeants, senior master sergeants. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Humbling moment. Go back there with the staff sergeant I was assigned with at the time. And like we pull up, they're like, why are you here? I'm like, I came to apologize. And they're like, all right, hold on. So they get all the senior master sergeants that are there.
Amazing.
They do like a semicircle around me and pretty much just chewed right into me. Humbling, but I didn't have any paperwork. The, package got processed on time and I ended up making it, but I had to essentially endure the feedback of like, you'll never be an officer. Like, as long as we are here and chiefs and seniors in charge of this base, if you don't get picked up, we will continue to like smite you down. You will never have another opportunity. We hope you don't get picked up for like the academy. All your awards don't mean anything. And so, again, all that to say, it doesn't matter where you're at in the commissioning process. Like if you're starting your package and you're no kidding going down that path, like you're going to have haters and sometimes you're going to trip at the finish line.
Right.
And it's super important to just have enough like tenacity to continue because one failure shouldn't like it's going to set you back, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. Like you can keep applying just like you said.
Right.
At the last 101 brief, we had a guy go through OTS. He wanted to do a medical specific route, didn't get picked up. He put in 6 packages. So that's 6 years of doing the same thing over and over again, not getting picked up. And then on his 6th time, he got picked up. So it really is sometimes about how long you can endure the pain and how much pain you can endure as opposed to like, oh, I'm the smartest or I'm the best or I'm the most awarded or the, whatever.
Those packages really vary from what I've heard because I've talked to like a lot of people and I've heard different things of like AFOQT scores where they're like, man, it was like middle of the road. I failed the first time, but the second time they're like, it's middle of the road.
Congrats.
And it's like stuff about passing or it's like, no, I've got a 4.0 in my bachelor's and now I have a master's 4.0 and there's always going to be those people, but it's a good mix of like, there's academics in there. There's people who are just, there's something in the process that they've finessed or figured out. And so it's very interesting because I don't think that it's black and white at all.
Oh, no.
I did want to ask you, Aaron Fernandez, what path are you heading down? What are you trying to apply for?
Initially wanted to do OTS just like you, man.
Mm-hmm.
But due to me taking classes right now at Minor State, I decided to just go ROTC. It seems to be the best option for me, especially with those numbers that you just mentioned right now with acceptance. I'm like, I'll probably have a better chance if I go ROTC, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm aiming for right now. Hopefully everything goes well. Just AFOQT.
Are you trying to do like the half and half, like get your associates and then do the bachelor's ROTC? How does that work?
So as far as I'm aware of, right now, I'm finishing my CCIF. I'm taking classes right now for that.
Okay.
But next year, if my paperwork goes through and gets accepted, I'm going to be flying to Texas to resume my education for a major. It's going to be linguistics.
Okay.
Nice.
When you say farce, I'm like, oh.
He's like, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm like, I know farce a little bit, not really, but enough to walk around and pretend that I know what I'm saying.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
More
It's,
than me.
it's super basic, but yes, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
You're already bilingual, so it'll
Yeah.
probably add a little bit.
Apparently, they're supposed to help you, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so you're thinking CCAF,
Mhm.
and then specific. I wish Levi was here. He did the ERP program.
Mm.
So the early release program, which is the 2-year version, is that what you're thinking?
I was thinking about it, but he recommended me to apply for all of them. And
Oh,
see
yeah,
what
yeah.
I get accepted for.
And you've talked to Levi.
I did, yeah.
Of course. Everyone pretty much that's on the base that wants to do ROTC has gone through Levi.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, right on. Thank you,
So-
Levi.
Yes, Lieutenant Blair. I'm going to at him real quick so you guys all blow his email up. That's right. So, again, I'm not the expert on ROTC, but I understand it that there's ASCP, SOAR, and EOC-ERP.
Yeah, that's the special one. There's like an A and a B, right?
I think so.
There's two different ones. from that.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 primary routes to get to ROTC, and then super niche one. I'll at her too, Taylor Sams. She's over in the 742nd. She is the group representative for the 91OG. She did SLEC P-A.
Mm.
That's right. So that program, just to dig into it just a tad, the ERP program is a 2-year program, which is a lot, I don't want to say harder, but it's rarer, as opposed to like SOAR and ASCP, less rare, and the acceptance rates on those are incredibly high. We were pulling numbers the other day. I think 2017 or 18 for SOAR was 100% acceptance rate.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's what people don't
Interesting.
understand when they come to the 101 brief. Everyone thinks OTS. And it's like, yes, at the end of the day, OTS is a great route. And if you're talking route specifically versus the schoolhouse, that's what people get confused sometimes is they're separate. So the OTS schoolhouse also hosts a bunch of different commissioning paths. So they all lead to the OTS schoolhouse, whereas OTS the path, people get it mixed up. It's like, all right, when I talk OTS, it's the path only. It's
Right.
like, no, sometimes it's the schoolhouse, but the path to get there is different. But with the ROTC routes, the acceptance rate is much higher because of what you have to sacrifice.
Right.
And again, just like I mentioned before, it all depends on the type of pain you're wanting to endure. So if you are married, if you have kids, typically people don't want to go down the ROTC route because you're going to get out of the Air Force. If it's SOAR or ASCP, you'll have a
allowance.
That's right. You're going to have an allowance for your books, some food, and then your actual tuition.
Right.
Right. You can use your GI Bill in like congruence with that. But I mean, you're going to need to probably pick up a part-time job. And if you have kids or a spouse that's depending on you, that's tough. But it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And those are always the trades we want to end up making.
Right.
So good on you for going down that path, especially as you're like finishing up your package. The acceptance rates on that side are a lot higher than OTS specifically because everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's, and it's like I talk with the command chiefs. If we have, 100 people across Minot that apply for that, we're just one base. And so we might send up 5 people from the base.
Yeah, I just described it. Yeah, you literally, at each like group level, it's like 1 or 2 people. Then the wing commander decides where does he or she think that is going to be the best candidate. Yep. And then you're still not picked up for OTS. They're just pushing you there.
That's right. And so you have to get picked up at the higher levels to actually finalize. And it's a numbers game at the end of the day. And we don't know how many people are going to get picked up per board.
Right,
Just
right.
like-
Because they just had a supplemental too. This last year, they in December they were like, if you applied, reapply because we need extras. I had a guy who just came back from NCOA a couple months ago. He got picked up. I was super excited for him. It was really cool to be a part of it. He stayed in NCOA because if you stay in NCOA and get that done, that PME, you can go to OTS like a week and a half later. You don't have to do that in residence portion for that first week and a half. They've changed things, I guess, but that's just a little snippet. I thought was interesting.
Well, and that's kind of the tricky part about Defo is things change across all 18 that we're tracking
Yeah,
so far
right.
all the time. And so it's so hard to like disseminate information, even just at the base level,
Mm.
which is why hopefully talking with Department and Air Force level some more as far as like how do we disseminate information up and down the Air Force
Mhm.
in general, because we've done a lot of work here at Minot. And I preach it all the time. We're trying to be the gold standard for what DEFO looks like across all of the Air Force,
Mhm.
which is a huge like mantle to take up.
Right.
Sure.
And we've worked really hard. So me and Levi, Captain CJ Helter, he just PCS'd. It was me and him at the beginning, just doing commissioning education briefs until DEFO came along and it's like, hey, we're going to try and standardize across the Air Force. Here's what that looks like. Here's how you like route it up. So we
Mhm.
fall under like the CGOC, and we're elected officials on behalf of DEFO through the CGOC. So it's kind of, we have a home
Mhm.
essentially, as opposed to being some rogue organization. So we've been trying to establish like those hierarchies, but at the same time, it's like, how do we ask the right questions to airmen to again reframe how you're thinking about, I want to commission. Okay, why? Very basic question. Let's go deeper. Because if you don't have a strong enough why at the end of the day, you'll self-eliminate.
Right.
So, or you'll let one failure get in the way of you crossing over from tech sergeant to butterbar.
Which is honestly kind of like one of those things where it's kind of part of the game where it's
That's
like,
right.
hey, if you're not willing and you know the process and you stop yourself there because of that, then maybe we don't want you anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
I did have a question about maybe something that might not exist as much in the Air Force, but was something that my dad experienced when he commissioned.
Okay.
It was
Uh,
also linguistics, you guys.
Yeah, he started as a linguist,
A
a
popular.
Russian linguist, and as he progressed in his Air Force career, he made tech sergeant, and then he was stuck at Andrews. He's like,
nice.
and his life was just to be at Andrews, and he was like, I have all these kids, sorry, I have all these kids, expenses are high,
Sure.
and that is, high cost of living area, and
Yep.
he wanted to get out, but practically what he was being told was that we're not going to let you go anywhere because you're too good at your job, that we're going to keep you.
Sure.
But he kind of felt like, I have to do something.
Mm.
Okay.
So when he commissioned, he basically had to like beg a master sergeant to
Sure.
let it happen. Is that still sort of a scenario where people are being punished for being so good that that they're losing out on that opportunity?
I know that you've probably seen more experiences, but I could see supervisors who maybe would be less available to help or like, well, yeah, you got to figure it out. Go to the education office. Like, well, like
And
find the
that's-
resource yourself.
And that's a big thing because some of them, in my experience, right, they tell you, oh, you got to go to the education office. And then, oh, you got to talk to the PDC. They might not know.
Yep.
They might know, they might not know. It's a 50-50 chance, right?
Sure.
But then when I figured out about DEFO,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you guys can actually tell me all the information that I need. I didn't know that before, right?
Yeah.
And
so
that's where
helpful.
they actually play a really important role.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the role we're trying to fill, is bridging the gap between. It's a great question, so I'm glad you asked it. And again, it's why we do the commissioning 101 briefs, so that we can. It's grassroots, so it's grassroots and it's top down, and so we try and meet somewhere in the middle and have it flow through. But it's the reason we speak to all of the group commanders at the end of the day, which is. We've spoken to, like I said, both wing commanders, the deputies. We speak with the command chiefs quarterly. We update them on numbers. What's our strategic guidance looking like? Are we asking the right questions as strategic leaders in DEFO? Because, again, I would never, as a senior airman, right, I never would have pictured myself in like a base level position trying to organize in grassroots and build it from scratch pretty much with, again, guidance from Department of Air Force and the bones from Captain Helter. But that's the reason we talk top down too. And it's the reason we have group level mentors or representatives. So it's me and Levi at the top right now. We're looking to have him move up into the primary role soon, and his secondary position will be vacated. So we're going to be leaning on the groups, the defo group representatives to fill that role. And so I'll still be here. So no worries.
Please, thanks.
Yeah, as long as they don't send me away, my VML drops at the end of this month. So we fingers crossed.
Right.
You know, me and the fiance, we put in to stay. We really do want to stay for another 3 years. So hopefully I'll be around, but I won't be a stranger. The point of him stepping into this role and a new person coming into secondary, there's a lot of reasons for it. One, it's to flesh out what the primary does, because it's just been me and him this whole time. How do you transition from like a group representative into a secondary role? And then how do you backfill your group role? And then for me, I'm hoping to go on to the global strike level and start on the 20th side. So I'm looking to be in charge of about 5 bases to start, so that we can start rolling these products that we've created at the base level out to the other bases that might need some help or haven't started yet. Again, working with the major in charge at the Air Force level. Is this a position that we think is useful? So that she doesn't have to manage the entire Air Force on her own. It's a big ask.
Right.
So giving her some help strategically there. And so we can field test some more products. But getting back to the heart of your question,
Sure.
I'm not trying to evade it here.
Ah,
We've made it a really, it's probably, gosh, we have a lot of priorities, but it's very high on our priority list to talk with the senior leaders across the base, which for us at the base level happens at the group level and the wing level. So we've talked with every, like I said, both wing side, all the group commanders. We try and include their chiefs or their senior enlisted advisors, so that we can essentially lay out what defo is to them, which is we're information at the end of the day. Just like they can lean on legal or the chaplains if anything comes across that's a little spicy that they don't know how to deal with. That's what we're here for. And if we don't know the answer to the question, we're gonna find it. The sole responsibility shouldn't be on the full bird colonels to figure out, like us airmen or senior airmen, whoever at the end of the day wants to commission down this very specific path. Me as the full bird, I don't know anything about this. If we don't have the right types of communication going on, bridging the gaps, it's super easy for that ball to get dropped, which is going back to your point. I think historically, it was a lot easier for dreams to get crushed at such a low level because of communication, knowledge, and at the end of the day, I tell this to the vast majority of people or airmen I talk with that want to commission, you need to understand why the Air Force allows these programs to exist, which is, think about a civilian, someone coming straight out of high school that wants to commission, whether it's the academy, ROTC, whatever. We're taking a civilian and making them an officer. That is a +1 to the Air Force. If we are taking an enlisted member that is really good at their job and making them an officer, we are a net zero personnel-wise.
Right.
And so you need to understand, like if you're putting in this work to commission, why would the Air Force accept me? And the reason that these programs exist is it allows for progression on the like enlisted into officer side. But again, if you think about it just from a numbers perspective, only 3% of the Air Force is officers. And so you get 100 people in a room, 3 of them are officers. It's not a lot. So we don't need that many officers. We need good operators, and specifically that 5-6 level.
yeah.
And so if you think
As
about
NCOs, I know, yeah.
promotion rates, we just have higher tenure got bumped for staff sergeants up to 20 years. So you can retire as a staff now. The tech to master and even staff to tech promotion rates have been abysmal.
That's where our pain is within our unit, is like needing those SMEs, those subject matter experts, to train our airmen, because there's not enough of us to train them, and we want to train them better and more. But we've got our work and we're doing that. It's like, man, what I could really use is a staff sergeant fresh from overseas with some cool experience. I could really share with my airmen. No, that's not going to happen. But also, you want to leave in commission. I don't know about that either. Not that anybody's saying that, but I'm just saying, like, it plays into that role of, man, those NCOs, it can be rough.
Yep. So it's I tell everyone it's a retention vehicle
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. So if you're going to put a 6-year contract in, makes, staff, BTZ, staff first time, and you're on track to be like a killer NCO, we are going to lose out on your progression as an enlisted member to restart your progress over as an officer. And so it is a net zero for the Air Force. That's why I said it's a retention vehicle, because if you want to put your package in and you don't get accepted, or say leadership gets in the way, it doesn't happen too much anymore. That's why we're here to help,
Right.
grease the wheels a little bit. But if you're going to get out after your 6-year contract and go make $200,000 off somewhere else doing some whatever, or you could commission and we'll keep you until 20 years. That's the incentive for the Air Force.
Right.
Is we want to keep the best of the best people, and usually the best of the best, if we can get them the information to cross them from enlisted to officer. I'm not saying every best of the best person should be an officer at the end of the day. Let's make that clear. We need NCOs and senior enlisted leaders in those roles. Without them, like, the Air Force will not exist.
Right, right. It blows my mind because a lot of people will be like, "Well, you have a college degree. Like, why don't you commission? What?" Like, first of all, it's not so easy. Let's
That's
pump
right.
the brakes
It's a
there.
lot of-
It's
And
not
it's
simple either.
right. And I do enjoy my job, and I enjoy being an NCO. And then
Sure.
the path to officership maybe grows that leadership hub for me, and that's where a lot of my interest is at.
Yeah.
But it can be difficult to want to initially have those feelings of growing outside of what you're comfy with.
Oh yeah.
So that can be the hardest part. But yeah, definitely not. We need those good NCOs and good senior
Yes.
enlisted for sure.
My dad used to say, even after he was a captain, he would say, I could be a chief master sergeant right now.
Yeah.
And like maybe he could have been, but it's this path that you're going to go down completely, changes your career progression, and both are absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And you can get some really cool experiences because of his background as a linguist.
Sure.
He got opportunities to serve as a defense attaché in countries that we never thought we'd get to live in. So your experiences as an enlisted, it enriches your experience as an
Builds.
officer.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure. 100%. And I pick on my, fellow prior enlisted officers, because to me, and this is just, my opinion at the end of the day, I feel like we owe it to the enlisted members a lot more than just a direct commissioned officer. And that's not to put, people that did commission directly off to the side. Again, we talked about a little off screen. In the defo works, how do you utilize, more non-prior enlisted officers to still bolster the program? Because at the end of the day, you're an officer, you can help airmen. So it's not to segregate or anything like that, but we have a unique background, and like no prior enlisted officer is going to be the same.
True.
The stories that you're going to hear, the experience that they've had. I'm thinking of a guy in my squadron right now, 14-year senior master sergeant. Then he crossed over.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah,
That blows my mind.
that's right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what stories does that guy have? What experiences did he go through? Like, he's going from a senior enlisted role where he's probably in charge of, an entire squadron.
He's advising, like,
That's right.
squadron commanders. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like, he's at the ops, almost like strategic level.
Mhm.
And to get back down to like a tactician as a LT, what does that look like? Are we, as like an Air Force, like broad spectrum, are we utilizing those people appropriately? Because, like I said, if it's a net zero gain for the Air Force, then squadron commanders, group commanders should be, in my opinion, looking at these prior enlisted officers and going, what's special about you that you transitioned? How can we utilize your story or put you in unique scenarios that bolster the squadron, group, whatever, and lean on the skills and strengths you already have, as opposed to, like, speaking as John, as like a missileer. I'm going to be a tactician at the end of the day, and I'm going to know my weapon system, and that's every missileer, that's every brand new lieutenant. You're going to be in charge of programs within your squadron. That's a given.
Mhm.
How can we not make, I'm not asking the world or nothing, but how can we put these prior enlisted officers in unique scenarios that allow them to shine? Because to me, it's an untapped resource right now. And that's part of what Devo's trying to fill. And it's part of why, I'm stepping out of the way on as primary for the base, allowing Levi to step in as primary so that he can spread his wings, so the new secondary can spread their wings, and so we can make new positions at the group level. It's like a 4-year track. Like
Yeah.
if you come in, you're a year at group, you're a year in the secondary, you're a year as primary. If you PCS after 3 years, that's like normal. Or if you want to keep going and you're within Global Strike or wherever you go for your next MAGCOM, you could go up to that Global Strike level. Maybe you talk with the major. Maybe there's some shuffling around at the top levels once you hit like late captain. So that's the point of Defo in my mind, is like, yes, we are here for the airmen to help them along their path. We're here for the full birds and the people that don't quite know, so we can help be a resource for them education wise. And the program bolsters its prior enlisted force. It allows them to shine and spread their wings.
Yeah.
And it's a track, it's a program. Like, you're developing the entire time. And after 3 years, like, a lot more than you did.
Right.
And so that's kind of the point is, if you're a master sergeant, you've dealt with a lot. Like, you've been in charge of like small A, like airmen, A1Cs, and you've seen the trouble that people can get in. And so coming into that tactician role might be a little boring, and we need that sometimes, that iron on iron stuff.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot,
It
but
is.
I feel like what I receive from this, if I were to condense it down
Sure.
to something very short, is that commissioning is just going to be hard.
Yes.
It's going to be hard. There's no getting around that part, but it doesn't need to be miserable, and no one needs to make the process of getting that information difficult.
Right. Well, I feel like it's an exciting process, and I feel like it's developing, like a developmental process. Like, because you learn, like, okay, you learn how to receive feedback as well as an individual, and like, how can I apply it, make myself better, build on this to make myself better. And if you don't want to do that, or you change your mind, then that means you just do something different. You go about a different way, and that's life. That's how things work. That's how it's designed. I see it as that.
Yeah.
And I think people get stuck in the role, or maybe they get this thought in their mind that, if I don't get it on my first time, it's just not meant to be. Or, if I go and try and commission, but I don't get picked up, I'm gonna get out of the Air Force. Like, my plan when I was a senior airman was, I will either make butter bar or I will make chief. Like, staying in the Air Force was never a question for me at the time. And that's not to say I'm pretty blue, just to put that out there. But that's not to say that I haven't had my own struggles with, oh man, am I going to stay in? Am I, even as like a lieutenant, do I want to stay in? Is the Air Force doing enough for me? Is it getting in the way of my personal goals? Am I growing enough? And again, if you're not asking yourself those hard questions, am I receiving feedback from the right people that know who I am? And so when I receive that feedback, it's actually good feedback.
Yeah.
There is such a thing as bad feedback.
Oh yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
That's right. Because people are going to be haters at the end of the day. And if you can't discern what good feedback looks like, you need to read some more. You need to practice. You need to know what you're about, all that stuff. So
Right.
no, none of it is easy. And that's just life. So
Yeah. Well, I want people to know how they can get in contact with you or
Sure.
Lieutenant Blair or any member.
More like generic resources too. Like,
Yeah.
obviously we've got direct ones for mine on.
Yeah.
But
Who can we contact, and what do we need to use?
sure. That's a tougher question than it.
Oh, dang.
No, you're fine. It's a hard question to answer right now because we're continuing to figure out what our process looks like and how we want the steps to kind of go. So we're trying to have airmen go to the PDC because it'll always be there, and me and Blair and all these other people won't. So go to the PDC, ask the professional development advisor how to get in touch with DEFO at the time.
Mhm.
We're working on getting an email set up for the base so that it's not just me, it's not just Levi. But that's probably the first route I would take, so that you can reach out to us. But until we leave, you can reach out to me. And even after I leave, I'll probably continue to do this. You can reach out to me on the global. I'm the only Subic in the global. SUB as in Bravo, ICK. First name John. There's a 2 there because I was enlisted and then I went to the academy.
Dang it, that's a reason
got it in
not
your
to
own
try
way.
to commission. I've got to keep it.
That's the only reason.
That's the only
That's
reason.
right.
That would be the only reason they're like, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Is it really that important?
Yeah. So I'm the only Subic though, and then Levi Blair, I think he's 3.
That's
But
surprising. I was expecting more.
yeah. But again, he's the only Blair here in Minot. We're both in the 740th right now. That could change, but we're probably still going to be in 91 OG. So look for something related to that. Reach out to us. When you do email, we give at least I give out my personal number like candy. So a lot of the people on the base have my personal number. Don't be shy. I know sometimes there's an E to O barrier when it comes to communication, but my line's always open.
Wow.
Awesome.
We appreciate the time.
Cool.
And if you're planning on commissioning, go to the Professional Development Center. Take advantage of the resources you have available, and maybe we'll see you out there someday as an officer. Thanks.
Of course.
Great work. Woo!